I mean, at this point, Kristen Welker must love being shut down and humiliated, okay? Because she is on a consistent losing streak. Drop down below in the comments if you think Kristen Welker is another Kamala Harris duplicate, another activist host, not a journalist, in fact. Let me know what you guys think down below. How do you feel about the ridiculous statements that she makes, okay? Do you guys think this Maryland man is an American citizen and deserves due process? Do you think the illegals deserve due process? All right. Because it appears that the left, they keep trying to fight that illegals have the same rights as American citizens, which just is not the case. All right. For some reason, the Democrats, including Kristen Welker, cannot grasp that. I don't know where the disconnect is, but I do know that they are the party of wokeism and anti-common sense. And you see that with Kristen Welker's unhinged statements here all throughout this interview. Shout out to Senator Kennedy. And yeah, shout out to the King Squad. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, and this thing gets really crazy. We're going to break this whole thing down. All the gaslighting and the narcissism. We're going to shut this whole thing down right now. Let's go.
And joining me now is Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Senator Kennedy, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's start off with this case of Mr. Abrego Garcia. You heard my conversation with Senator Van Hollen. The Justice Department called the deportation of Mr. Abrego Garcia a, quote, administrative error. The Supreme Court has ordered the government to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's return. Should Mr. Abrego Garcia be returned to the United States, Senator?
No.
Well, Chris is my friend, and I respect him, and he's certainly entitled to his opinion, but in my judgment, he is utterly and gloriously wrong. I mean, most of this gauzy rhetoric is just rage bait. Unless you're next level obtuse, you know that Mr. Garcia is never coming back to the United States, ever. And that's not because of President Trump. That's because of Mr. President Bukele. He said up front in the Oval Office that he was not going to return Mr. Garcia. No federal judge, even Jay Wilkinson, has authority over a sovereign country. Besides that, it should not go unnoticed that Mr. Bukele is much closer to President Xi in China than he is to President Trump. Xi is spending billions of dollars to build infrastructure in El Salvador, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've discussed this case. The final point I would make, whether you agree with it or not, is Bukele hates MS-13, and Mr. Garcia allegedly is a member of MS-13. The other point I would make is that Chris says Mr. Garcia's had no due process. He's been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice, probably $5 million worth of legal fees, and he hadn't had to pay a dime. Final point I'd make, look, this was a screw-up, in my opinion. The administration won't admit it, but this was a screw-up. Mr. Garcia was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. He was sent to El Salvador. The Democrats saying, look, you know, we told you Trump is a threat to democracy. This is going to happen every other Thursday afternoon. I don't see any pattern here. I mean, you know, someday pigs may fly, but I doubt it.
Senator, this is notable because you are saying, in your words, this is a screw-up. I mean, are you concerned that more mistakes could happen?
Well, sure. None of us want mistakes. Mistakes bad. Doing it right, good.
Yeah.
But it was a screw up, and I understand why the administration is bowed up and said we won't admit it's a mistake, because if they do, they'll have their throats torn out. But it was a screw up. I don't see any pattern here. I've been listening to my Democratic friends say for, I don't know, since God was a child, that Trump is a threat to democracy. I don't see any pattern here. I see a screw up.
Well, and the concern for some people is that if there's one screw up, it does become a slippery slope. It is worth noting Mr. Abrego Garcia has not ever been charged with a crime. And in terms of what the courts are saying, they're not saying this is under the jurisdiction of the president of El Salvador. They're saying this is the responsibility of the U.S. government, the Supreme Court ordering the Trump administration to facilitate his return. And in a ruling this week, a three-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals wrote, quote, "The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order." Do you believe Mr. Abrego Garcia is due to have due process?
Well, I think, number one, he's had due process. But if your question is, should he have been given a hearing before he was sent to El Salvador, I think the answer is yes. But let me say something about the Fourth Circuit opinion written by Jay Wilkinson. Judge Wilkinson is a very clever, self-confident guy. But he left out one part in his opinion. What does he expect Trump to do? Declare war and go get Bukele? I mean, he brought Bukele to America. President Bukele sat in the Oval Office in front of God and country and said, "I'm not sending this guy back."
So with the whole thing regarding Abrego Garcia, excuse me if I pronounce his name wrong, but yeah, you know, the whole thing with the Democrats being enraged, you can even see Kristen Welker looks enraged, you know, she always kind of looks enraged though. That's the thing. They always have these like super woke eyes, like this wokeism is like going all through their eyes. Dana Bash has it, Kristen Welker has it, Jessica Tarlov, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, they all have this same look in their eyes. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Let me know down below. All right. And on this topic, I really find that the Democrats are trying to rally behind anybody at this point to sit here and find another angle to sabotage Trump's second term, Trump's presidency. All right, this man that they're trying to rally behind, this illegal immigrant from El Salvador, he had 2 hearings to my understanding, and you know, that's it. Okay, he's done. He's deported. Okay, so this whole thing of trying to bring him back is like completely ridiculous. All right, so for the Democrats to sit here and fight for it, and I really see it as the Democrats are just fighting for to get their voters back, their new batch of voters, because everybody else in America is awakened to the Dems BS. Okay, that's really what it is. That's really how it looks to me. The Democrats are fighting to keep their slaves. That's really how I see it, and they're making it seem like they're for these people when they're really not. All right, so that those people will vote blue no matter who. Kristen Welker is another activist to push that agenda through, and that's really how it strikes me. Let me know what you guys think down below about that. Okay, I really think that Trump is doing the best he can. He's doing a really great job, in fact. Okay, really, you know, having accomplished more in 100 days than Jurassic Joe Biden has accomplished in his entire 4-year term. Okay, so that's that. Kristen Welker, of course, like the rest of these activist hosts, they don't like those facts. They don't like the fact that Trump is doing a better job. And this is why they try to attack Trump, attack the things going on around Trump, and try to push these illegals and everything because, well, they're sore losers, quite frankly. That's really how it strikes me. And yeah. So you consistently see Kristen Welker. She consistently, like, repeatedly drives these Democrat points to push this agenda that Trump is just this unhinged king slash dictator slash little mustache man reincarnated. And it's just not the case. It's just not the case. We saw this even with the interview where Trump absolutely shut down and humiliated Kristen Welker. And yeah, she wasn't ready. All right. So that's something that strikes me as I see these interviews that Kristen Welker does. She consistently just spews out this woke, ridiculous nonsense, kind of like The Spew, kind of like, well, The Spew is The View if you don't know, kind of like Sunny Hostin and Joyless Behar, Cloudy Hostin, Poopy Goldberg. All right, they all kind of do the same thing. Not kind of, they do the exact same thing. But let me know what you guys think, and let's get back into the video. It gets worse.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what Judge Wilkinson expects Trump to do.
Well, the president could simply have asked for it back, and he may have brought him. But let me ask you about something you said just a couple of months ago.
How do you know he hasn't? But Kristen, how do you know he hasn't?
Well, he has said he doesn't plan to. I'm just basing this off of his public comments. The president has said he doesn't plan to. But let me just play something that you said. This is a couple months ago during a confirmation hearing for some of the president's DOJ officials. Take a listen. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Don't ever take the position that you're not going to follow the order of a federal court. Now, all our judiciary has, an equal branch of government, has its legitimacy. It doesn't have an army. Don't ever say you're not going to follow the order of a court.
Do you believe that President Trump is following the orders of the courts right now?
Yes. And I don't believe that President Trump will defy a federal judge's order. If he does, I'll call him out on it. I believe what I said in the clip. I love the rule of law. I love it like the devil loves sin. I think if we start not following federal judicial orders, we undermine the system entirely. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize them. You can criticize them, you can appeal them, but you can't choose to not follow them. And I haven't seen President Trump do that. And if he does, I'll say very loudly and clearly that I think he's wrong.
Okay. Let me ask you about.
Shout out to Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Drop down below in the comments if you think he is a national treasure, okay, as he consistently shuts down Kristen Welker's reaches and her attacks on the Trump administration, all right? Let me know what you guys think down below.
That's something else President Trump said this week. He said he would like to send what he called, and I'm quoting him, homegrown criminals, meaning U.S. citizens, to foreign prisons like the one in El Salvador. Senator, do you think the law allows the President of the United States to send U.S. citizens to a foreign prison?
No, ma'am. Nor should it be considered appropriate or moral. We have our own laws. We have the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. We shouldn't send prisoners to foreign countries, in my judgment.
Okay, let me switch gears here a little bit, ask you about President Trump's agenda, because I know you all are going to be very focused on that. Senate Republicans split right now, Senator, over whether to allow tax hikes on wealthy Americans as a part of that budget bill that you're trying to pass. Bloomberg News is reporting that the House proposal would set the rate at 40% for taxpayers earning $1 million or more per year. That's up from the current top tax rate of 37%. Senator, would you support increasing the tax rate on wealthy Americans?
I'm not sure yet. I'd like to see the language. Here are my thoughts, Kristen, generally. I don't believe in making tax policy on the basis of class warfare. And I think the people who are raising this issue, they're entitled to, of course, but they're asking the wrong question. I listened under President Biden, my Democratic colleagues for 4 years asked, who needs to pay more in taxes? That, to me, is the wrong question. The right question is what the hell happened to the money? And I hope that's the question that we address fundamentally in the reconciliation.
But, Senator, it sounds like...
See, right there, shout out to Senator John Kennedy for really holding the Democrats accountable right there, because that's the question that we're all asking, okay? Americans are sick and tired of the stealing and the fraud, okay? The Democrats consistently have this whole, a very deceptive way of going about things. Not saying the Republicans don't have certain things too, but the Republicans do things in a much better fashion more often than not than the Democrats, the Democrats, the Democrats, okay? And with the Jurassic Joe administration, where is the money? Okay, just where is it? All right, it was just matter of fact, who was even running the country? There are so many questions, and with the Trump administration, all this stuff is being brought to the light. All this stuff is being straightened out, and Donald Trump is literally really just setting things, putting things in order, organizing everything, making things make sense, bringing common sense back to the table. I completely trust his leadership, and I definitely believe that he will get this whole mess sorted out. Whereas Kristen Welker, she doesn't want to hear that. She doesn't want to see that. They just want to attack Trump and sit here and push the problems that the Democrats heightened onto the Republicans. That's really how I see it. But let me know what you guys think down below. How do you feel about that?
Like you're leaving the door open to the possibility that you could ultimately at some point support an increase in taxes if you thought it was the best way to get that budget bill over the finish line?
Well, we're in the process of putting the bill together. And here's what will probably happen. The House and the Senate will spend about, I don't know, hopefully no more than 60 days trying to reach a consensus. Everything's on the table. We won't reach a consensus. And then we'll have to go to the White House and meet with the president. And after a few hugs and a cup of hot cocoa, the president will arbitrate here and say this is in and this is out. And then he's going to have to put his muscle behind it to pass it. But this bill is important. It's our way of lowering prices. You lower prices by cutting spending, by deregulating the economy, and by designing a tax code that looks like somebody designed it on purpose in a way that stimulates growth so wages go up.
Senator,
and that's my objective in all this.
Senator, we are almost out of time, but as you know, tensions have been mounting between the president and the Fed chair. Would you support President Trump removing Jerome Powell as Fed chair?
I don't think any president has the right to remove the Federal Reserve chairman. I think the Federal Reserve ought to be independent. I think that Jay Powell and President Trump need to sit down and once again have a hug and a cup of hot cocoa and work it out. My experience with Jay Powell is that he's got tiger blood. He's going to do what he thinks is right. And he's not going to go down in history as the Federal Reserve chairman that allowed inflation to become wild as a March hare. And he's going to do what he thinks he's got to do. I think the Democrats are trying to appear more manly. Just a thought, but they may want to consider first getting rid of their man purses and their organic broccoli. Dark woke, light woke, mellow yellow woke, it's still woke. And that's the Democrats' problem. If you believe the polls, Jason, most Americans believe that Republicans aren't perfect, but they think the other side's crazy. They think that Democrats, like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, have chosen to become what my son would call utter nutters. I mean, you think about it. And think about what the Congresswoman stands for. If you're a Democrat in today's Democratic Party, you're not allowed to fire bad employees, to fire bad teachers. You're not allowed to cut wasteful spending. You're not allowed to deport illegal immigrants. You're not allowed to oppose MS-13. You're not allowed to like cops. You're not allowed to prosecute thieves who steal less than $950. You're not allowed to question vaccines. You're not allowed to oppose sex change operations for minors.
Shout out to Senator Kennedy just annihilating these woke leftists, okay? And one of the things I really just want to highlight, this is why when you see him do an interview with like Kamala Harris duplicate Kristen Welker, okay, NBC activist host, you know, this is the angle that we're coming from. We see that they are over here unhinged, deranged, completely against the process of getting America to a much better economic position, okay? They're not even putting the Americans first. Like, you know, we haven't even seen the Democrats fight for the Americans the way they're fighting for these illegals, all right? It is absolutely insane. And to remain a Democrat today is just, you know, you must love being lied to. Not saying, you know, the Republicans have everything figured out, but the Republicans are, you know, it makes a lot more sense with the Republican side than it does the left. And that's one of the things that we see consistently.
Or transgender people in women's bathrooms or playing women's sports. You're not allowed to oppose critical race theory in our schools. You're not allowed to oppose reading porn to grade schoolers. You're not allowed to oppose racial quotas. But you are required to use certain pronouns and to believe that men can breastfeed. Now, I don't think I'm being unfair. This is what Democrats and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez now believe. And a charitable interpretation for this kind of behavior does not exist. And the American people look at it and they just want to jump out of a moving car. And that's why Democrats are polling right up there with scalp psoriasis. In terms of the Congresswoman, look, I encourage her to run. I hope she does run. I understand. I listened to her speech. I understand her slogan is going to be "Change begins with a mustard seed," which I think is interesting. I guess if Governor Pritzker runs, his slogan will be "You can have a tummy and still be yummy." I don't know.
This is where we see that one of the most consistent things is, the Democrats consistently are just super unhinged and remain unhinged. They are super out of touch with reality. And Senator John Kennedy, he gets that. And this is why he's one of my favorite speakers, because he addresses that, okay, and lets it be known, where he stands and where they are coming from, the Democrats, in fact. And to his point, to add on to his point that he just stated right here, I absolutely love seeing the Democrats show their true colors and consistently just get on camera and get on the microphones and just talk, because they are revealing their true colors, their agendas, their real priorities, which is not the American people. Okay. And they also displayed that when Biden was in office, and they are solidifying JD Vance's win in 2028. Okay. They are solidifying JD Vance's 2 terms if he chooses to run. All right. That's really how I see it. Let me know what you guys think down below. As far as everything with Donald Trump, you really have to just be patient. And the Democrats are not doing that. They want to sit here and attack Trump that, not everything he said didn't that he said was going to happen happened in under 100 days. And that's just not how things work. OK, but this is where we say that they're out of touch with reality. With everything President Trump is doing, we have to remain patient and continuously trust the process and see the bigger picture. All right. Not fall for the emotional terrorism from the left-wing mainstream media. All right. That's really how it strikes me. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Shout out to the King Squad. Smash like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.